Hello, I am happy to be joined today by our AI intern that will help us to answer some of our questions. AI intern, I am a human translator, and it's amazing to see how many people are interested in using AI, but I don't know where to start. It's hard to reach an agreement. Everybody has a different opinion. What do you think I should do?
Hello, translator. I see you are confused. I'm not surprised. How do you usually translate? Do you use only a text editor like Microsoft Word or OpenOffice? How do you use a CAT tool? Let me tell you, if you are using only text editor, using AI will be quite easy for you. You just have to use AI on your text. You can upload your document to your favorite AI, or you can use system-wide tools or onboard Copilot like in Microsoft Word.
But is it going to be good at translating?
Well, that depends. AI is still pretty bad in several languages. AI still hallucinates. So if you're just doing machine translation and sending the result as is, that will be pretty easy for you. But that doesn't necessarily mean quality will be good. In fact, if you are just reading again your text to edit it, if you're not using the quality assessment tools that you can find in CAT tools or a dedicated QA tool like Xbench, then this work will be tedious and you are likely to miss a lot of errors.
Okay, but I do see a ton of machine translated material online. It's probably done with AI, and it seems that people that are using it are getting okay results.
The difference is that massive companies have a pre-built pipeline to use AI. Although the process is fully automated, they don't just use the first output that AI gives them. There you apply other automated layers using other forms of AI to check the quality of the text. Of course, as there is no human intervention, the quality of the text will still be pretty limited. So they are not using that for critical translations, mainly for news or blogs. And they have been doing that before LLMs were used for translation. In fact, they have been using machine translation for this for a while now.
Is there a way I can replicate that on my computer or my tablet or another device of mine?
Simply put, no.
Okay, so let's say now I'm a freelance translator. Can I use AI in my CAT tools for translation purposes?
Introducing AI into your translation process will be harder when you use CAT tools. The way you can use AI will depend on the type of CAT tools you are using. Some tools are built expressly to use AI. These will usually have AI be used as machine translation and have you edit it. And you have also some tools that allow you to grab any text and have it translated the same as with machine translation. They are usually summoned by using a keyboard shortcut. But if we are looking at using standard computer-assisted tools that rely on translation memory, then it will be a little bit harder to use AI effectively. But if we are looking at using standard computer-assisted tools that rely on translation memory, then it will be a little bit harder to use AI effectively out of the box.
But why? I think that could be a great combo for me.
Well, in theory it would be. But we need to remember that each CAT tool has their own proper ecosystem and their proper workflows. And to integrate machine translation, they will have to rely on different systems. For example, if you are using Trados, you will be able to use some plugins that are made by third parties. If you are using MemoQ, it's a bit the same, but they will need to work with MemoQ dev team to have them made available inside the software. Then what's working on the desktop and on the cloud can be different too. And then for the other tools, most of the time adding a new AI engine means having to hardcode a new connector to make it work. Some tools have flexible connectors. That's the case for some of WordFast tools, for example. But you will need help or a template to be able to fill them up. That's only in the case where they have not been prepared completely for you yet. And we have to answer the question, when should I use AI? That's a problem in many CAT tools because they are not very flexible for the reasons I explained before. If you want to use AI as a machine translation tool to make it work at its best, you need to give it context. And that's where most CAT tools fail, because you can't upload the full file to the AI to be machine translated. Usually the CAT tool will ask the AI to work for translation only on a segment-by-segment basis. Then you need to be able to make creative prompts. If you can give only some light style instructions, you are not using AI at its full potential. After that, you have to ask yourself, do you want to use AI after the translation? For example, to do some quality assessment checks. Or maybe you want to apply your style after the translation has been created. Or maybe you want to use AI to access synonyms. Or you want AI to format the text to fix some of the internal coding, or replace some symbols, or do some tasks that would be very tedious to do yourself. By the way, we robots are very good at doing repetitive tasks that are quite simple. And this task would be tedious for a human and cost you time. So that's a good way to use robots.
What are your recommendations then?
If you are using tools that are designed to use AI when translating, then you need to use external dedicated QA tools to make sure your work is good. By the way, having another human check that work would be the ideal situation. If these tools don't work with a translation memory, you should find a way to be able to check previous translations so that you can be in line with the style your customer likes. If you are using classic CAT tools, make sure that the CAT tool you are using enables you to use AI at its best for the translation step and also for later steps. Fixes that can be applied directly on the target is likely where you will save more time.
Personally, I prefer to do a light translation with AI and then perform more advanced AI actions on my target using a tool I'm quite familiar with, which is WordFast Anywhere. Okay, so let's look at this example. So, for example, here I have a very bad translation for that sentence here on segment number 3. And if I click on the AI Enhance button, I have only one prompt selected, and the prompt selected is to apply the Lisa QA. So let's try that. And we are doing this with Claude. So there we go. So it is sorted by error type. So we start with accuracy, major error. Okay, so we have a mistranslation basically. We have terminology, no errors detected. Linguistic, no grammatical syntax errors detected. So that's what we things. And size, I wouldn't like to mention that, etc., etc. And now we get to addition, and it says here it's a critical error, so it was added to the target, and we get the general appraisal. After that, we see an omission. It says it's a major error, and that gives us more or less a list. And you can imagine more things than that. If you check on my YouTube channel, I have made a series of different things that you can do. And it's actually pretty cool because you can send the source segment and the target segment to be checked. And we could take that prompt further and even add, for example, highlighting, or we can make a new prompt that checks on the source and the target at the same time, comparing and highlighting different errors. We could even imagine if we could give a previous version of the translation. We could even perform scoring like it is done in the MT world. For example, we could do the blue score or the TER score. Let me type that. So bleu and TR could be applied, and if we add, for example, a plugin in there, you could even do comet evaluation. There are so many things you can do. Basically, it depends on how flexible the tool that you're using is and how it connects to your LLM. And if your LLM, if your large language model is good enough, then you will be able to perform many tasks. You can even clean. Okay, so now I have switched my prompt, and now I am using OpenAI, so ChatGPT, to apply changes. So that would be on the target. So let's click on AI Enhance, and we will see two things. So in here, for example, we have these prompts. So one checks more the vocabulary and the other checks more the grammar and spelling. But they both tell us what the target should look like. So if something has been omitted, it gets highlighted in the vocabulary, and if it has been added, you get a dash here. So for example, that tells me that this section here, appelez-nous, should be removed. So by looking at these two, I can check one of the two, for example, and this one is the more correct. And I know that which fix I need to apply, so I can move that to my target. And now I just need to remove this, and here add an accent and my segment is fixed. So that is a way to use AI in here, which is interesting, and to apply fixes rapidly and to be able to move on without having to retype a whole section.
As we reach this point, I think it would be nice to take a break and look at the current panorama for AI use.
So I prepared this small table to help us look at what's out there. Some of you may know all the names in here. Some of you may know only some of the names. And so I also added a column to let you know if you can connect with an API key. So that means that if you have an API key, you will be able to plug the AI system into your CAD tool or into other tools that you are using. Now, of course, you probably heard of ChatGPT, you probably heard of DeepSeek, and you probably heard of Gemini. So these are available. Copilot is available as well, but that's a spin on ChatGPT. And we can understand that because Microsoft owns 49% of the stock of OpenAI. So this is all very logical when we see what's happening. So you also have Claude, which is a very good performer. You can also find in there Le Chat, which is from Mistral AI, surprisingly good. Also, if you want to use it to generate pictures, it is very good at generating pictures. DeepSeek, you've heard of it probably this year. Also, it is from China. And we have also Lara, which is a bit special because it's really based on machine translation, but it is also a large language model at the same time, and it's just really made to translate. So it is very interesting to use. Now, the API can be plugged in, but you will see it more often plugged in with an SDK, so basically an app or a custom connector within your CAD tool. So don't expect to find a way to connect with an API directly because it is very unlikely. And then you have other situations like, for example, Maritalk, which is a monolingual AI system. It can translate from Spanish, but you have to look at it as a monolingual system. So basically, it is better to use it to rephrase some of your material. And on Hugging Face at the bottom, you can find many models. You can find also the Llama models from Facebook. There's many things you can do, but you have to know what you are doing. So that's why I just said it's for nerds, but there's really a lot you can do with stuff that is available on Hugging Face. So that's the panorama we have. And among these, some can allow you to plug in for free the API. So, for example, if you're using Mistral AI, Le Chat, you can use it with the API for free. So there are restrictions, but you can do it. It is also possible to do that with Gemini. So there are interesting things to do, and some of them you can even start for free. But it can be very cheap using the API. For example, with Claude, with only $5, you can do a lot by connecting the API. So that's the look at the landscape that we have at the moment in. Now I have an important question. Is it safe for translators to use these systems?
If you are on free plans or on the cheapest plans, whatever data you are sending to the AI will be kept for further training. So, if you are translating sensitive information, it is absolutely impossible to use AI. If you are translating publicly available information, whatever you are doing will be published, and it is likely that these big giant companies will end up getting your translation anyway, because they have engineers that create software that goes all over the internet to get whatever they can find as text to train the AI. This process is known as scraping. So if your information is going to be public, if you make efforts to not use AI, there is a very high chance that your translation will end up in the training data later on anyway. However, if you're going to be able to access enterprise plans, if you are a freelancer sometimes paying for a tool, they will have a way for you to use an enterprise key because they are buying in bulk. So if you can get your hands on an enterprise key, it is better because they claim that they will not use your data to train their engine. Of course, this will have to rely on the trust you have in their claim. If you have money to spend on hardware, and if you are a geek, you can create your own AI. This means that your data will be safe.
Well, that statement makes me think about bigger setups, like, for example, small or medium translation agencies. Wouldn't they benefit themselves even a little bit more of using these systems?
Yes, that's true. They are more likely to be able to afford an enterprise key. However, most already have a system in place where they use CAT tools and where they have a QA system to make sure quality is delivered to their customers. So for them, the question becomes, how do they use AI? If they rely on their own set of third-party tools, they will have to decide at which stage they use AI and if it is advisable to do so. Ideally, they'd want to sit down with their project managers and see for which language pairs which customers' AI would be appropriate and do a test run and be prepared to lose money on that test run to be able to adjust things and make sure it works. So they would want to test that with just a handful of translators and proofreaders to make sure they get a good system in place. They will have to look at the editing time and the final style to make sure that they get the result they want with a lesser effort than if they did it using the system they already have in place. Using AI can be cheaper than using MT, and it can also be slower than using MT, so they need to look at the whole process and see if it is beneficial to them. Now, there is also something else they can do because several companies offer them either specific TMS or other systems that can use AI. But this means that they will have to learn how to use a new system and teach their team and their vendors to adapt to it. And there is quite a bit of a learning curve there. Another thing they can do is turn to companies that help you have your machine translation systems optimized. So, among these you can find Intento, Custom, MT, etc. These can help you taking your translation memories and making sure that the AI engine that you will use later on is optimized to use whatever you translated in the past to make sure that the output reflects the style and the glossaries that you've used in the past. Depending on the set of tools that the translation agency is currently using, they will be able to tell them how and when it is best to use AI for their needs.
Okay, I understand, but what you are describing to me here doesn't really sound new. It sounds a bit like what was available when only machine translation was available at the time and there was no talk about AI.
You are correct.
So isn't there a way for translation agencies to use AI systems in a smarter way, a bit like what you described for freelancers before?
Yes, the same applies here. They can use AI creatively if they can find the tools that will help them do that or find ways to place that in their workflow.
I see, but so far we've only been looking at solutions that are offered by third parties. Isn't there a way where an agency could rely on their own AI system, something they could have and do in-house? Is it possible?
Yes, there is, and that would be the smartest thing to do. So if you are running a small or medium translation agency, take your pen and paper. Maybe this is for you. The big event this year was DeepSeek appearing on the AI radar. One of the reasons is that they have released their model and the weights of the model, which is a way that enables engineers to play with it. As a matter of fact, some have already started to run it on servers in the United States and allowing people to connect to it, so they can use it without having to connect to DeepSeek owners' servers in China. What this means is that if you have the machine to run it, you can run it yourself in your house or in your office if you want to.
Oh, that's great. I would love to do that. I have a gaming computer. Can I run it on it?
It is true that you can run it on a gaming laptop, but you will only be able to run a very small version of the model. This means that you won't get the full power of this AI system.
Oh, I see. What would I need to run such a system then?
There are some systems that are made available to the public to do that. You have the digits from NVIDIA, or you can decide to buy some GPUs dedicated to AI and put them in a big computer. Some people have even created clusters of Mac Minis to run the DeepSeek model. This means that for less than $15,000, which is the price of a small car, you could run locally your own DeepSeek model.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. But I wouldn't know where to start. What should I do to run it? What do I need?
There are many AI engineers that are now coming onto the job market, so you could look on LinkedIn or try to find a good AI engineer, and you could hire them so that they could prepare your AI model and make sure it runs locally and does what you want.
I see now. Thank you. So, if I did that for my translation agency, what would be the benefits then?
If you hire an AI engineer and you make sure that your system is protected from the outside internet, then that opens the door to you using AI, even on sensitive material if your customers allow it. Because your AI system would be contained, and you would be able to make sure that nothing is released to the public or to the AI giants. Another benefit would be that your AI engineer would be able to optimize your AI system to your exact needs, should you want to use it for pre-translation, or for specific editing, or to prepare your translations in such a way that it will make it easier for human translators to work. You can even try to train it specifically with your translation memories and glossaries. This opens so many doors that you can think creatively about it. And this is the thought I'm going to leave at the end of this presentation. Because the development of AI systems or large language models have come to such a moment in time where it becomes possible for some translation agencies to run their own model internally. And this opens many doors. It is an investment, but it is an investment that will give results. This enables us to see a point in time where translators that are working for an agency will actually get useful help from an AI engine that will help them to make the best translation possible with less effort. The machine will actually be helping the human in the translation process. So if you can invest, well, maybe now is the time to give a job to an AI engineer that is looking for one and have him help you choose the hardware and prepare a system that you will be able to use locally. Make sure you understand your needs and the needs of your project managers and the needs of the translators that will be using the system.
Thank you all for following that video. I hope you enjoyed this format. Try to make it less boring. And if you want to learn more about AI, beside everything that's happening today on the ProZ AI event, I invite you to check my channel, Translators Tech Corner on YouTube. I have several videos that explain interesting things about CAT tools, how to use them, what you can do with technology tools that can help you translate. And I have quite a few videos now about machine translation and AI. So I invite you to subscribe. And if you know people that will need the same type of information, well, share it with them as well. So I hope you enjoyed it. And now, if the Vimeo platform is working today, I look forward to the Q&A session. So let's get started with it.